security is backed by a vision, a date, and a plan.
Yeah.
A woman's security comes from having vision, a date, and a plan. When a man doesn't have those things, he tends to look kind of foolish. A true king realizes that I will sacrifice my needs and my wants to make sure my family is good, so therefore getting the respect as a man.
Yeah.
A man has to earn his respect.
I agree.
It would be nice to say that we're gifted respect, but we're not.
No.
We have to earn it.
Welcome to the Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast, starring Q the Boss.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back to another episode of Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast. They call me Q the Boss. Oh, yes. Today we got a very special guest and a very special episode. Today my guy to my left of me is, let me introduce yourself, man. Tell them who you be, bro.
Yo, what's up, y'all? My name is Lonnie. Q's one of my big homies, you know what I'm saying? Taught me a lot. We've been trying to do this for a minute. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about, and let's get it.
Listen, so guys, just so you know, me and my guy, we have great conversations all the time. I love his intellect. I love that he does research on a lot of things. He doesn't just speak out of context. He's very vocal about how he feels. So today we're definitely talking about what is going on with the culture. So I'm gonna come straight to it. Let's address the elephant in the room off the rip. What's going on with the culture to you?
Man, where can I start, bro?
It's about to get diabolical.
Yeah, man. It's like every day you just see more and more degradation. And we know, as the people that's in the culture, that that's not the norm.
Yes.
That's not the majority of us. However, I think the problem is most of us don't understand that the moment we step outside our house, we represent every single person that looks like us. So we have a moral obligation to behave a certain way.
Yes.
And I know that word behave triggers a certain amount of people because who am I to behave? What am I, a dog? And this is our problem.
Yes.
We're too reactionary. We're too emotional as a people.
Yes.
Whereas when we hear certain things, we automatically enter a certain mind frame that dilutes the rest of the message. And that's why we can't get nowhere.
So would you say that's a heavy dose of insecurity?
Oh, 100%.
And why would you say that?
Well, because coming from, let's say I put myself in the mindset of a person like that, and I hear something that I don't really want to take accountability for. The truth is, the only reason I would want to fight against something like that is because I don't understand it. So I don't have the intellectual capacity to grasp what this person is saying, which a lot of people get embarrassed by, which is foolish.
Yes.
Or I hear what you're saying and I understand what you're saying and I just don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a reality that people don't just want to accept. And it's fine. If that's how you feel, I hear about tragic stuff all the time that it doesn't move me because it just doesn't shake me.
It's not for you.
It's not for me. However, if that's what it is, be honest about it. But don't fight and refute facts.
You know something scary is like when you dealing with this culture nowadays, you know the one thing I've learned is that people that don't educate themselves or learn any furtherance, they tend to hold people into a space of what they used to know them as. I've learned that people that learn to educate themselves, that are very articulate, that's constantly growing, they see the growth in others. I think the people that aren't growing, they tend to want to hold you in a box. So what I've noticed is that more people, when you start elevating psychologically, and now you're doing your research, you're doing your homework. For instance, going to your family talking about, let's say we're talking about trauma. We're talking about breaking certain experiences that shouldn't be a normality in our family, right? It's triggering because most people haven't even gotten to first base, but they expect to score at the home plate, but they haven't even got to first base with it fixing themselves as far as the culture go. What would you say about that?
100%, bro. Like, a lot of people don't want to first accept the fact that you can't choose your family. You know what I'm saying? The people that you are around, had you met them outside of your family, would you be close with them?
No.
How would you handle a person that you don't have blood ties with? but was the exact same individual who, let's say, was a friend of yours or a coworker or a classmate.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know how to separate themselves from things they don't have control over. Like, listen, everything we went through was a result of either that was a decision that was made that you thought was the best choice at the time.
Yes.
Or you just didn't know any better.
Yes.
Either way, there's no reason to beat yourself up about it. If you're not dead, then whatever killed you or whatever you went through didn't kill you. It only made you stronger.
It made you stronger.
You know what I'm saying? So we have to learn to separate ourselves from the things we went through and stop identifying with and associating with trauma. Just because that's what you went through, that doesn't mean that's who you are. That doesn't mean that's all that's, your life is going to be. So I think a lot of people need to learn, one, how to forgive.
Yeah.
And two, like I said, how to separate themselves.
You know something scary is when you sit down and you talk to people, right? And you could genuinely have a conversation with someone in particular you love or care for, right? And you could have the receipts based on the success or gravitating or growing. You're definitely accelerating your growth. You're growing. And they can see it but still don't want to see it. I had to tell a guy the other day, you have to have a level of narcissism in you to believe that you're the exception to the rule. Because I'm going to simply ask you, what goes up must what?
Come down.
If I keep wasting my money, I'm going to be what?
Bro.
If I run into traffic and I keep playing with the cars, I'm going to get
hit.
But why would someone believe that they're so substantially great that they're going to be the exception to the rule? 9 out of 10 times when you see people who are financially secure, wouldn't you see they're very financially responsible? Wouldn't you say they put their money in positions to make them more money? Would you say they're constantly figuring out how to make more money?
Yep.
But it seems like in our culture, culturally period, people believe that they're going to be the exception by saying, I'm going to waste all my resources. But that's the lottery mentality.
You know what I think it is too? I also think it's a Luciferian mindset. And what I mean by that is it's a selfish mindset.
Yes.
Which again, there's two ways to perceive reality.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You can either see yourself as a part of everything, like there is no difference between me, you,
Yes.
everybody else.
Yes.
There's no separation, right? That's a single perception of oneness.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Then you have the duality perception of two-ness. There's me, and then there's everything else.
Yes, yes.
And I'm always the main character. I'm always paramount. You feel me? And in some situations, one mentality serves you better than the other. One is not right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's simply a matter of how it's applied, one, and two, what you understand about what you're doing. And a lot of people believe that they're doing the right thing when they're really a narcissist or when they're really being selfish, almost like a supervillain, right?
Yeah.
Like if you see any movie, Marvel, any superhero movie, the bad guy never really understands that they're doing something wrong.
They justify the behavior.
They truly believe they're doing the right thing.
But we always say this, in order for someone to continue a bad behavior, they have to believe what they're doing is right.
Yes. Oh,
right?
100%.
So they'll justify it. A person that eats a lot has to justify that they're hungry in order to continuously eat a lot. A person that wastes their money on material items, the buying it makes them feel like a level of value that doesn't really exist.
And it comes with a mental justification
100%.
that helps you sleep at night.
But there is something called the main character syndrome that you see that a lot of people are literally suffering from. Okay.
And I think a lot of people, I hear they say 2 things can be right, 2 things. No, sometimes 2 things can't be right. You can't spend all your money and think you're going to be rich. It just doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work that way.
The stats, the facts, the statistics, the things that are written, the research, you have to do the research to get certain things. 2 things can't be right. So I think our culture, we got to stop with the 2 things could be right because we feel insecure and we feel bad about what you're actually doing right. I want to justify what I'm doing right. So I'm going to just tell myself, no, 2 things can be right. That's false. 2 things can't be right.
But we can find ways to distract us from our reality. And when I sit down and listen to a lot of people, they actually mastered distractions. They've mastered distractions. They're into a heavy dose of distraction. For instance, I even see in my store, we could be having a very productive conversation, right? I'm in God willing, the average life expectancy is 76. I would say at my life now, God willing, I surpass it but I think I have less years ahead of me than behind me. So with that being said, I have to focus on the ahead of me, less energy on the behind me. But I've noticed that you'll talk to people and the conversation can be very productive. And the people will figure out ways to escape the conversation. I show you this all the time, Tyler. I said, watch this. I'm gonna bring up finance. Watch how many people run from these conversations.
They get very uncomfortable.
Get very uncomfortable. Then I said, now watch this. I'm gonna talk about girls and watch how many people jump into those conversations. They'll tell you about Tom Thibodeau and the New York Knicks, but they can't tell you that Benjamin Franklin and George Washington and the dead presidents, why they're not in their pocket. But they can tell you the graveyard of friends that they've lost, but not the graveyard of the finances of the dead presidents they should be having in their pocket. And I think that's a major issue in itself.
I agree. But like you just said, you said a key word, escape. Most people suffer from some form of escapism. You know what I read in a book one time? It said there's 4 things that separate man from animals, right?
I'm listening.
4 things. And it said, there's 4 things that a man does that you'll see that's the exact same living style as every wild animal on earth. And he was like, how many people do you know follow these 4 things? This is all they concern themselves with. Eating.
Yes.
Sleeping.
Yes.
Having sex.
Yes.
And defending themselves.
It's sad. But a lot of people, that's their whole premise.
That's their entire life.
That's their whole entire life.
They try to sleep with whoever they can, eat as good as they can,
yes,
protect themselves from as much harm.
Yes.
It's like the nature of a wild animal is to attack something that is naturally its prey. It's its nature. It can't help it. You see what I'm saying? But if you are a man of spiritual understanding, you'll see something that is edible, but you won't eat it.
But you want to hear something that I get a lot of times where some women get offended when I say this statement: I would never chase a woman. Never. And I don't believe. Man, I'm just being honest from my lens of what I've seen, and that's why if someone gets offended by what I'm saying, it's because they're probably the problem. But in most cases, I have never ever seen men that chase women have their finances in order.
No.
Because that's the means of escape. Me being able to get a woman or sex from a woman justifies that I'm still him.
Yep.
It still basically gives me a notch on my resume. And I'm like, that. At what point as a man do we stop getting the notch in our belts and base it on what we have achieved and what we haven't achieved? I feel like a lot of people still believe that I'm still getting sex. So it solidifies me as a man. When I was a kid, we would argue. In the midst of an argument, if you said something that I didn't like, I said I get more girls than you. And that basically
shut down the argument.
Yes, it pushed me over you.
Yep.
It made me the superior of the conversation.
Goofy.
But at what age do we say you still have the mentality or the mindset of the more I can get intimate with women, the more it validates me as a man? When do we change that?
I think we change it when more men start following their purpose. The reason why most men are doing that is because it's like, this is what I'm gonna do. I know I should be focused on my path and purpose, but I'm gonna avoid it. I'm gonna avoid the struggle. I'm gonna avoid the challenges, and I'm just gonna go for dopamine hits all day to make myself feel like I'm actually doing something. But in reality, you're not really doing nothing, because the real dopamine high is when you're successful. On that journey, there's definitely gonna be times of trial, times of error. But people don't want to face the trial and error. They just want to get high off the sex all day.
Because you know what it is? Social media has given us a platform where it's easy to look like you're winning. Yep. I know people that post old vacation pictures that look like they're on vacation.
Diabolical.
But this is why, like...
Did you hear that statement?
Yeah, bro.
I know people who post old vacation pictures as if they're on vacation.
Instead of working to get a new trip.
I know people that buy themselves gifts and set it up like their significant other that they don't even have, left it in the crib for them. And they come in the house like, oh my God. And it's like, you live by yourself. So it's like, you got people who... men specifically, who they get lost in, like you said, those dopamine chases because most men don't have senseis. They don't have gurus. They don't have masters. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like every young boy needs a master.
Even me as a grown man, I still have mentors.
Yeah.
You know, and the reason being is because there's a saying, remember Meek said, if you take yourself outside yourself and take a look at yourself, you'll realize how much you playing yourself. And once you're able to do that, then you've mastered basically self. When you're able to forward think, like, yo, if I do this, I'm gonna feel it later. Mm-hmm. I think that's when you've mastered adulthood. Because adults are privy and conscious to every decision that we make, right? Even if I can justify it, it still doesn't make sense. For instance, if I know someone said something remotely upsetting to me, I still can't justify how I react to it because of my anger. One of my homegirls, I wanted to hear this, Vivian, we was having a conversation the other day in the car, and we were talking about anger. And I said, regardless of anger or frustration, you still have to be mindful of your self-control. The word is self-control, no matter what. Because again, 9 out of 10 times, the person that's about to take you out of your spot is a person that A, maybe wish they were in your spot, or B, a person that don't respect you in the spot that you're currently in.
Yep.
So realistically, you're gonna lose your space for someone, because if you see value in me, you know that if I act a fool, it can cost me a lot. But if you're not willing or understanding of my situation, for instance, if I'm a pastor, and you know I'm a pastor, so I'm held to a certain level of regard. If you're bringing me out of that character, because I am still human no matter what, whether my mouth can speak the word of God or not, I'm still human. But if you're around people who can bring that diabolical behavior out of you, and the person knows that you're striving towards becoming a better version of self, that means it's time to get away from people like that.
Yeah.
But you know, some people, they do it on purpose though, right?
But that means they shouldn't have access anymore.
Because you're a weak person.
Yeah.
Not weak in just the traditional sense. You have not been taught how to protect. Like, if you walk around cushioning yourself from being triggered, that's weak.
Yeah.
100%.
That's not
100%.
strength.
100%.
If you have set up your life to the point where nothing triggers you, you're not prepared for reality.
Yeah.
You want to hear something crazy? And I want y'all to hear this. You know the scariest thing? Imagine coming in the house at 4 a.m, right? Mm-hmm. And everyone in your house is asleep. What do you do to get to your room?
Move quietly.
You tiptoe. You move quietly. It's sad that today, when I want to tell someone that, I feel like it's like me coming in the house at 4 a.m. I have to tiptoe around everything because I know naturally they're gonna get offended. And it's sad that I can't tell grown men and grown women the truth. And I call them friends, I call them family, I call them acquaintances and associates. But I'm like, I can't tell you how I genuinely feel about this behavior. You know what I'm saying?
I used to blame women for that.
Elaborate.
I used to think that it was women's fault for why you couldn't just be honest with them.
I'm listening.
And it's not. It's our fault.
When you say our.
Men.
And I'm listening.
It's men's fault because even from small children, right? When a grown man sees his baby girl crying, him saying, shut up and get up and stop crying is not even a fathom of a thought. But if that's your little boy, your son, it's a completely different energy. Now, daughters and sons need different things. I'm not saying that you should raise them exactly the same. But at what point in a daughter's life is she immersed in responsibility?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? When she's in a troubled situation, when is it ever acceptable for her to get herself out of a situation? If it's not her father, her brother, her man.
She got to figure it out.
When is that ever, but when is that ever supposed to be the case? So when things go the way they're supposed to go, women don't need to do anything. There's a man there to take care of it. So they go through life not really needing to be accountable for anything.
So what about the men that's not accountable?
That's the result of men who also didn't have a man. He was raised by women who told him it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to, not take accountability. It's okay to make excuses. It takes a father. It takes a man who has no interest in sleeping with you.
Yes.
To teach a woman right from wrong.
You see the term, when we use the term alpha and beta a lot. I'm not too much of a fan of it, but I understand what it means in the dating world.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I understand what it means.
I do too.
Because it can be a term of respect, but the beta term could also be used as a term of disrespect.
Right. It's exactly because there's levels to it.
There's levels to it, right? It takes a level of maturity to understand it. I like to use the term masculine and feminine, and what feminine energy usually is usually more codependent on masculine energy as far as provision, and masculine energy is usually codependent on feminine energy by emotional support and being basically the nurturing aspect.
Yeah.
So when you look at that common denominator, you see that they usually complement each other.
Yeah.
So usually when I tell a lot of the men that I see in today's society, they're hypersensitive because I don't want to say that it's a woman's fault, but I do say that a lot of them come from very feminine beings around them.
Yeah.
I've met very feminine men, and I've met very masculine men. Masculine men are very heavy about providing.
Yep.
That's what we are, we're providers. Feminine men look for women to basically provide for them because they have a feminine energy. They've learned that from someone.
Yep.
But the worst part is, and I'm gonna say this on record and someone's gonna get mad, but I don't care what no one says, I genuinely believe when a family's not doing well, I'm blaming the man.
Yeah.
I'm blaming the man.
100%. It's the man's fault.
100%. So anytime I hear a woman crying about the finances at home, I'm looking at him. Because a lot of times these men don't prioritize their family to the magnitude of what they should. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, there's no way my woman is gonna outwork me. There's no way my woman is gonna make more money than me. And when I say that in the humblest way. Because someone's gonna take it as if I'm being arrogant. I genuinely believe as the provider, why is my woman taking on the role as a provider and I'm sitting back watching her provide, knowing that her taking on that role, she's gonna see me more of a feminine, she's gonna see me as a masculine.
Right.
Soon as a woman take on a role of leadership, she's naturally gonna see you more in the feminine space.
It's like the king and queen system, right?
Yes.
If a woman is a queen and she's looking for a husband,
Yes.
and a king is looking for a wife.
Yes.
If a king marries the brokest, poorest, lowest woman in the
She's
kingdom,
still a queen.
she instantly becomes the highest level that a woman can reach just by marrying me.
Yes.
Just by marrying me, you go from being nothing to the greatest level you can be.
Yes.
If a woman marries the poorest, lowest man in the kingdom or the queendom, he doesn't become king.
Yes.
He becomes the queen's husband.
Yes. Yes.
Because why would she marry a man who would usurp her? You think overnight the kingdoms, the country's gonna go from a matriarchy to a patriarchy? No, she's not gonna give him authority over her. So my point
Why
is,
y'all both this too?
so my point is, if I am with a woman who's doing better than me, who's making more money than me,
Okay.
who's working harder than me,
Okay.
you will naturally be pulling me down from where I should be. If I'm above you, it's natural for you to be under me because I'm not mushing you down. You going up with me. We going up together. So you have a lot of women who pursue men who they know are beneath them.
You hear something?
They know are not kings.
I agree with you.
And then use those men as a standard to paint the rest of us with a broad brush. Like, hey, see, this is what the quality of men are out here. And that's not true.
I just want to say this. I think the man becomes the greatest version of self when they hit the lowest point of themselves.
Agreed.
I agree.
I think
agree.
because I think a man has to hit the lowest point of himself for him to realize that he got to change it. Because I think if you get comfortable at the bottom of you possibly can, then that's where you're meant to be.
100%.
I
And that's
agree.
where you're meant to be.
And that's why men at one point used to have senseis, masters. Like your family sent you to go learn how to survive, how to fight. And this master, this sensei, this sifu was responsible for your life. And
like
if y'all
that.
sparring and if y'all fighting, what are you gonna do? He's
We
gonna
need
kill
more-
you.
We need more
Yeah.
sparring.
So
we
it's
need more
like
of that.
there was no incentive
Yes.
for young boys today to, like you said, hit rock bottom and go, oh, I just might die. So I got to get my stuff together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's
you-
what's missing.
You want to know what's scary? So I'm in the shop. I'm just listening to Q. He's talking to these guys. You have grown men like 40, 50. He said, is 30,000 enough to be outside dating?
And what did I tell him?
No, and I don't think it is either.
I don't
That
think
doesn't
so
make
either.
sense.
But
30,000.
you know why I said that, right?
Economy, go ahead, get into it.
The reason why I said that 30,000 is not enough, because I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I feel like it's weird when a man engages, marries, he takes on a woman engage, date, or getting to a relationship. The reason being is because naturally when you give those roles to a woman, you telling her, I can provide your three most vital components of your life.
Yes.
You're gonna protect, you're gonna provide, and you're gonna give her security. So once you take on those roles and you're not meeting those requirements, she's not gonna respect you.
Naturally.
And it's just what it is.
Yeah.
It's just like you know the perfect analogy of explaining that? Imagine a man who sits around, and our highest level of currency is respect. Imagine if I sit around and wait till a woman learns how to respect me. Usually a woman gives the energy you give her. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Typically, yes.
If a man meets a woman, right, and he bags a woman, initially the woman will submit. But as she starts seeing there's holes in your boat, she realizes eventually she's gonna have to abandon ship.
Yep.
And that's usually when the women abandon ship, because there's a lot of holes in what he's saying. He's not consistent with what he's doing. He's not leading the way he's supposed to be leading. He's codependent on her. He's not who he say he is. And the woman is looking at him as a big hypocrite.
Yep.
And her security is being tainted, her protection is being tainted, and also the provision is being tainted, which makes her not relinquish her role of you leading her.
I
She's
agree.
never gonna do that.
I agree. And there's also too, and this is the other side of that situation where, because he's talking about the woman who has fully immersed herself in relying on this man to
Yes.
be what he's supposed to be, and he's just not it. Then you have the other side. You have the men who are everything
Yes.
that a woman needs a man to be, and there are no holes in his boat.
Yes.
So what does she start doing? Starts poking him in the shit. Cause she can't, I've been, there's so many situations I've seen where there'll be nothing wrong, substantially. And they'll create the problem. Because I think,
That go both ways.
I think a woman naturally looks for flaws in a man to constantly probe and test to make sure that you're the guy that she needs you to be. But they do it sometimes unrighteously.
You play sports in your life,
Yeah,
so naturally a leader just takes the role of a leader.
correct.
But when you see a woman, right, they will really pay attention to what you're saying. I think a woman learns her man more than a man learns his woman.
Yeah,
I think-
I think if the feelings are there, I think if she's into you,
That's what we're talking about.
more than you're into her, she's more inclined.
Agreed.
She's
Agreed.
more inclined to study you.
Agreed.
If the feelings are just mutual or y'all trying to figure each other out, I don't think that she's going to be that invested. She
But
has to see you as
agreed.
a viable option.
Agreed. But I genuinely believe that most women that are, let's use that as a substance,
Mm-hmm.
the substance of this topic. I think the women that are heavy into their men, yeah, they really learn them wholeheartedly.
They study them.
Yes, this is why in an argument, a woman learns how to say the worst things to you to hurt you, right?
Yeah.
Because she learned you. She learned your behavior, she learned your patterns, and a lot of times the men who don't see themselves like, you know what? I meet guys that'll tell me like, yo, Tyler, a woman should allow a man to lead. I'm like, bro, first off, you shouldn't even be getting in a relationship
Yeah, that's not-
until you got your life together.
That's not what
I'm
you
gonna be
should
honest with
saying.
you,
Like,
because it's only but so long you're gonna keep telling a woman that we're gonna strike gold, and you're not even working towards the gold.
right.
It's only but so long you're gonna keep feeding her hypotheticals and maybes. Security is backed by a vision, a date, and a plan.
Yeah.
A woman's security comes from having vision, a date, and a plan. When a
action.
man doesn't have those things, he tends to look kind of foolish. A true king realizes that I will sacrifice my needs and my wants to make sure my family is good, so therefore getting the respect as a man.
Yeah.
A man has to earn his respect.
I agree.
It would be nice to say that we're gifted respect, but we're not. We have to earn it. And
I think a lot of men don't want to admit that they don't have all the answers.
100%.
Like a lot of it doesn't, and this is why we need each other at the end of the day, because you got men who feel like they can't just be like, you know what, I don't really know, without fear of being ridiculed by either his bros or his woman, or like, we have to give grace where it's due, especially when there's expectations involved.
100%.
Because everybody's expectations get not met.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
everybody's been let down, lied to, hurt. To try to find somebody who's not gonna do that, good luck. Like, it's impossible. So you have to understand that people are not perfect, one, and two, you don't have all the tools.
100%.
Your partner might have them.
100%.
And you might need to be quiet and listen and take advice without subjugating yourself in the process. Like, just because you
100%.
take advice or criticism from somebody else doesn't mean you're an idiot.
Don't mean you're inferior.
Doesn't mean you're less.
You're not inferior.
It means none of that.
You're not inferior.
All we have is each other at the
You
end of
might
the
know
day.
this. I might know this.
You know what was scary? We was having a little debate a couple weeks ago, and some dude, he knew he was wrong, but instead of admitting he was wrong, he argued on hours,
Yes.
and the facts
'Cause
was
it's
right
embarrassing.
There. It was so embarrassing to him, and then he said one time,
I just don't want y'all to
I
be
just
right.
don't want y'all to be right.
You want to hear something scary the other
crazy.
day?
It's
I
embarrassing.
I want y'all to hear this too. I was having a conversation, and Viv, I want you to hear this. I was having a conversation with a female that I have a high level of respect for, a lot. We do a lot of debating, and still sharp and still. She comes with it, I come with it. But we do a lot of debating as far as life. The other day, she said to me, watch this. She said, we were talking about, she said, how older men only go after younger women because we're perverts, we want to control, and something is wrong with us. So watch this narrative. I just want you to stay with me. Just watch this. And watch this. When a man, right? Do you think, Vivian, a woman will go look for a man that looks like he's tall? Or do you think a woman will look for a man that is tall? So is tall is what you say, right? Yeah. So why would a man look for a woman that looks young when he can get a woman that is young? When I broke it down to her, she couldn't even answer the question. I said, why would I get a woman that looks young when I can? In most cases, the reason why most men pursue younger, and being honest, we're talking about real men. They pursue younger because most men don't get their finances in order to about 36 to 40 years old,
Yep.
right? So hypothetically speaking, that is high-risk pregnancy if you have a woman that match your age. So realistically, if a man was focused on his goals, his aspirations, his life, therefore he would go date a girl maybe 8 to 10 years his senior because of the fact that it makes more sense. So if I'm almost 40, I would pursue something that's about 30, 35. Right? Because it makes more sense when it comes to procreating life, especially if I want multiple children.
Exactly. And that,
Right?
see, that's the part that women don't like to accept. It's like, men don't want to date younger women because they hate you. Like, it's not a negative. Like, there's men out there who want you. They're just not the men that you think you qualify
But
for.
you're young if you're 40 to a 50-year-old.
As a man?
No, a woman is young. A 40-year-old woman is young to a man that's 50.
Oh, yes, yeah.
A 50-year-old woman is young to a man that's
Bro,
60.
the harsh reality, like if I was an older woman and I met 3-4 potential husbands and I didn't take them seriously, and now I'm in my late 40s and 50s, I'd be bitter too.
Yeah.
It's just it's just natural. Like, what women don't want to accept is, as a man gets older and more successful, his dating options increase. That's just what happens. As a woman gets older and more successful, her dating options diminish.
You know why though?
Of course I know why. Because
Explain why.
because as a woman, she still wants to be taken care of. So as she gets older, men want women in their sexual prime. Especially if I want children, which just so happens to be early 20s to late 20s. And that's across the board. Men who are in their 80s and men who are in the junior high want women at that same age. They've done countless surveys. All men want women in the same age range. But all women do not want all men in the same age range. Most women want a man who's her age or older because he can provide. Their nature as creatures is to seek a provider. So if you're a multi-millionaire as a woman and you're 45, tough luck.
You know, it's crazy you saying that because
It's just the truth.
I forgot her name. One of the celebrities, we see her. She was saying on the podcast.
Vanessa Williams?
No, but probably it's one of them. But she was saying on the podcast.
Vivica Fox, I think.
Another one. She was saying on a podcast that she dates younger men. She's 50. She has to date younger men.
Tracy.
Yes, Tracy Ellis
Ross.
Ross.
Yeah, Tracy Ellis Ross.
And also, Beyonce's mom, she said she woke up at 70 and realized like that the husband is not for her no more, and she just need to start fresh. In my mind, I'm thinking you're 70. Like, what?
Listen, you didn't see the video?
What's gonna happen?
There was a 19-year-old kid who married some like 82-year-old billionaire from Ireland, bro. Genius. Bravo to him. Because, bro, Forbes released a list of female billionaires last year, or of 2023. It was like 115 female billionaires, right? Mm-hmm. Guess how many of them were actual business owners?
None. Yeah. No, it's true.
2 out of 115. The other 113 were overnight billionaires from divorce settlements. So women there's no other institution on planet Earth.
Are married into families also.
Yeah.
Married into husbands.
There's no other institution on the planet where somebody can enter broke and leave a billionaire with doing no work. Doing nothing other than marriage.
So my question is, do you think culturally we value traditional marriages?
No.
Why?
Because we've been incentivized not to.
Elaborate.
We have been given, black women were given a choice. They said, you can either rely on this man who we're going to try to kill every day. We're going to try to lock him up every day. We're going to make it impossible for him to get a job. We're going to make it impossible for him to think straight because he just can't provide for his people. Or you can rely on us and these guaranteed benefits. He just can't be in the house.
You know what's scary though? But you know what's really scary about that, what he just said? When you look at a lot of black women, right? Would you agree that they would say that black men have it hard? I think they will say it.
They will say
but they don't really
But
mean
they
like
don't
it.
lack the empathy for them, though. They lack it.
Not at all.
They don't
I think
have
they know it mentally, but they'll never
don't
verbally
care.
say it.
They understand
care.
it. Like, we can express our trauma and our pain to
Not
know.
all,
To
but
know,
a good mass majority.
You're right. But I meant to no other woman on earth but the black woman. She can resonate with what we're saying more than any other woman. However, they make a conscious effort to not empathize. It's
but
like
we do the same thing with them too, and I'm gonna tell you why. A lot of times we complain about our women being naggy, and realistically, we have to admit that they're emotional creatures. So we gotta have empathy as far as that aspect too, because that's their nature.
But they don't want to admit that they're emotional creatures.
No, we know.
We know it. The world knows it. But when you tell a woman, yo, you're being irrationally emotional right now, they won't go, yo, you know what? All right, I'm gonna go cool out.
Because I think it's like basically. What is that word? You know the word called submission? Mm-hmm. As soon as it's like a trigger word.
Right.
And I think that same thing gets them, their blood flowing, like you're calling me, you're basically saying I'm weaker than or something. I think some of them take it as that aspect.
Because a lot of them aren't trained. Yeah. They're not trained as people. And even that word triggers people because
trained.
They think, oh, what am I, a dog? If you've ever had a job in your life, did they not train you? If you've ever been in the military, don't you receive training?
It's context. It's always the word backed by the context.
That's low functioning intelligence.
100%.
That's
facts.
not an intelligent person. If I could say a word to you
and
shift your whole emotional mindset, you're not that bright.
100%.
I'm sorry. If like you have never heard of people get triggered to the degree that black people do.
Especially when it's like it's logic that you're telling them.
It's insane. Like if you tell a woman, who trained you how to be a wife?
And they're gonna get upset.
They would get mad. Just that question alone.
Because you basically said, without the context, that she's not a good wife.
Yeah.
But again, the context, like when I use the word submission, to me the word submission means the willingness to allow to lead. That's what I get. I don't read the whole standard Webster dictionary as far as what that dictionary means, what it means. What I see by that term in the dating is, are you willing to allow someone to lead you? That's when I hear submission.
That's it.
That's all I hear. They talk about like you got on shackles and being whipped.
They equate it to actual slavery. They do.
It's crazy.
When you tell a woman, I need a woman to submit.
Is it us that think like that, Kinsey? Do you think like that? When they hear the word submission, it's like, do they equate it to slavery? Am I bugging? Tell them, am I bugging? When they hear the term submission, they take it like you talking about like they're slaves. It's Kenny?
It's like they don't.
Yeah.
They don't understand that at the end of the day, we are all we have.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody's coming in to teach us nothing.
No.
Nobody's coming in to...
No.
The first thing that black people need to do is set up a way to take out our own trash. And what I mean by that is stop letting the degenerates, the low functioning, the low vibrational ones represent who we are.
100%.
We need to have a system in place to take out our own trash. Because every time one of them gets involved with some type of social justice issue, some type of any issue, we feel obligated to defend degenerates. Let's be honest. Like, how many upstanding, like, real pivotal members of society go through real social injustice on a regular basis?
You know why, though, right? You know why we do that?
Explain.
When you look at logic, right? Let's say if you see, you got north, south, east, west, right? Let's say if you got lions to the left, north, lions to the south, lions to the east, lions to the west. When them lions meet in the middle, they still know who is the same identical lion as them. Mm-hmm. See, the issue in black culture is we tend to believe that just because we have the same color,
we're the same.
We have the same mentality. And the reality is when you see the lions from the north, the lions from the south, the lions from the east, and the lions from the west, when they separate, the lions from the north is going to move with the lions from the north. Mm-hmm. The south, the east going to be with the south, the east is going to be with the east, and the west going to be with the west. And the reason being is because mentally they know they herd together because they're like-minded. And the issue in our culture is we have to identify there's a tons of cultures in one culture.
Yep.
There's too many cultures in one culture. There is no one dominant culture. For instance, I could say putting my kids through school and paying for them to go to college is more the most prominent thing for my family. Some people believe just throwing their child to the workforce. And then some people believe that getting government assistance, HUD, and Section 8 and welfare is the prominent move for them and their family.
Yeah.
That's three different mentalities in itself. So realistically, it's like we're not, there is no God, no, this is the guaranteed way to be.
Yeah, there's
right.
no,
Yeah.
we don't have weekly masterminds.
No.
Most black people don't even know what a mastermind is.
And that's what I'm about to ask both of y'all since we get into it. What is black culture?
It doesn't exist. We are constantly told what to think, what to wear, who to like, who to listen to, what to eat, where to go. Like, if black people could not log on to any social media platform for a month, there'd be bodies on the street. That's how bad it is. If black people couldn't log on to IG, Snapchat, Facebook, and be told what to think and what to do for the day, there'd be chaos because no one would know what to do.
You know something scary though when you sit down and we say this statement, like it depends on who you're having this conversation with, because what I see now is we're being taught by other cultures how to be our culture.
Yeah,
right.
That's my point.
And it's sad because we praise the negligence, the negative of our culture. Hip hop is considerably the culture to certain people's mentalities. Then you see the foreign black who comes to America. He is black just like you and I. More family oriented, but that's our origin, right? That's initially our behavior where the family comes first. One guy said to me one time, I could never have my girl mother, and my mother under one roof. I said, because you're not a real man. And on top of it, I built a kingdom to move the family in it. I said, the problem is you're going to move up in the queendom and try to be the king there.
Yep.
That's the difference. I set the tone because I created the kingdom.
I had a classmate who told me, he said,
I'm not peeing on the corner somebody already peed in.
Right. Like one of my classmates in college told me, he said him and his 4 brothers all bought a house, moved all their wives in the house,
Yep.
and they all work together.
And let me guess where they from.
Somewhere in the Middle East.
It's always. Always. You see the conduit on the southern state? Mm-hmm. Anytime you take the conduit, you don't see all those big houses?
Yeah.
They're usually on your right or the left-hand side. Those are all Indians.
Yeah.
Indians are so smart, and I'm not trying to praise them, but I'm just being honest. They will build a house to the point where they have no backyard. And their house is just pure house. that quarter of an acre,
The whole
that
lot,
half of it
the
is
whole lot is
a
all,
house.
it's all built on. Yeah.
House, right? And they put their families in positions where the monarch, whoever is the head of the house, he or she creates, more than likely is he, creates the situation where they all have to pour in to the situation so therefore everyone can lead. I feel like black culture would be proud to say they have a big home but never home to enjoy it because of the fact that they can't afford to stay home long enough to enjoy it.
And and it shouldn't be like that because you can't even, the black people who are in positions to own properties like that, they don't even have 5, 6, 7 relatives that they can trust enough to pour into the family fund every month.
But
That's
you
crazy.
got to think logical, right? It's sad that, okay, we talk about we come from broken, right? But it's sad that when a broken person come from broken and then they go out and date broken, only procreating more broken.
Yep.
So realistically, when you learn that the narrative is Kinsey, Tyler, Teddy, Jelani, Dre, Chris, all of these guys, Vivian, I've created my family. When you learn that family is a word backed by action, it is not backed by blood. See, sometimes we say, oh, that's my family. No, that's your relative. Y'all related, right? Animals are related, but don't mean they still rock with each other.
Right.
Animals are related, but don't mean they still rock with each other. Because they understand they're just not like-minded individuals. And once you establish that, we have to understand that we are mammals, right?
Yeah.
We have to understand we can't herd with people that don't have the same mental aspect as us. For instance, I'm older than you, but yet and still, would you say I give you a high level of respect when you speak?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Why is that?
Because what I say be making sense.
No, I think we heard mentally the same.
Yeah.
So when we move, I'm like, yo, we move in one cohesive movement. It's not like somebody's behind. It's one consistent movement because we see that it's a mentality. And once black culture established that our mentality is preserving us in poor wealth. For instance, naturally, most black families have no wealth because we don't have black families.
Yep.
We have black people, but we don't have no black unity. Without unity, there's no wealth building. Black families are attached to black wealth. If you look from the beginning of time, Tyler, in America, the wealthiest black people are the ones that had the strongest black families.
Black people, what do they say? White people plan for the next 1,000 years. Black people plan for Saturday night.
Yes.
White people plan for the next 1,000 years. Black
Some.
people plan for Saturday night. Like,
Some white people.
We don't have.
Some white people.
We don't. Well, you know, it's just a saying, but we don't even have respectable members in our community that multiple people can point to and say, that person, that man, that woman, talk to them. They can represent our ideas.
I think we do. We just don't glamorize them and praise them. We're gonna praise the rapper or the promiscuous woman as they're the figure, or the person with 1 million followers who really ain't.
Well, that's my point. Like, somebody who is that person in the community who
They
could
look past
be
them.
our representative.
They look past them.
The people don't even know who this
They don't
person
even know
is.
who they are. Nope.
Like, they don't, and I'm not saying they don't exist because they're everywhere. But anytime you meet somebody, especially a black man who's on his purpose, he is by himself.
Like for instance, a guy
Every
like
time.
a guy like Q, you can put Q up there. In my opinion, just of what I've seen, you can put him up there as a prominent black person who people, the masses, could look after and look at his values and change their life.
For sure.
Over any rapper. I'm sorry. It's
Of
just
course.
the truth.
But people, see, when you have a front row seat to the vision and the growth and the movement, it's very different than seeing it online only. Like, you got people, not to pivot a bit, but just to make a point, saying that Not Like Us is the greatest diss song they ever heard. You know? Like, they don't have the reference point to, you know what I'm saying? They didn't hear none of that. They don't know what none of that was like. And it's because they weren't there. That's the only reason.
I agree.
So
I agree.
you associate with things that you feel present for.
Like Chris Brown, they'll say that it's better than James Brown.
Yeah, like,
If you didn't see it. And then my generation might say Michael Jackson.
exactly.
You know, it depends on what you lived.
It's levels to it. And a lot of people choose to identify and associate with things that they're comfortable with.
You want to hear something funny? So a person I'm close with one time, I was telling him I think you should listen a little bit more. I think you have an ego where you don't like to listen. And humbly, in this particular subject, and notice I said in this particular subject, I am way ahead of the class than you are, right? And I think you should study with me. But what you're good at, I'll study with you, right? So he says to me, why should I listen to you? I said, I'm gonna tell you the truth. He said, why? I said, because I'm who you pretend to be in real life. Now, when you get arrogant like that,
He got mad when you said that, didn't he?
yes, but in most cases, it's
Naturally.
like, I hate to say this, but a lot of times, black people respect violence. They respect arrogance. They respect like that. Like, for instance, if you listen to hip hop is a verse of nothing but arrogance, witty, and talking about how you, and showing off. So it's seeped so deep into the culture that it's actually procreating the new trees that you're starting to see, which is the mentalities. A lot of these young people believe that, listening to rappers, do this to you and bang up on your block and all of this garbage is starting to like really make grown men believe that this is a perception. I'm gonna say this, somebody gonna get mad. And I gotta say this, because since we're talking about the culture, I think Jordans is hood dude shoes.
They are.
I'm sorry. I think Michael Jordan's sneakers, the way when I look at what we've done for his brand, right? And I'm gonna say this, and I have to say this. Is someone gonna get mad? I don't care. Go take your hood and go live in your 11s. I don't care. Go live in your 3s. Why I say that is because how much money we have honestly put in Michael Jordan's pockets.
And he don't even rock with black people.
I don't want to say that.
He don't.
No, hold on. I want to say this. I just want to say, and this is my right to say this. And the reason why I say that, because when God give you, you have to give back to what has given you. And when you look at who's been giving him, I don't genuinely feel like he do enough for the people that put the amounts of money and the people that died for those shoes and killed themselves and worked the hard labor just to be able to say they have a Jordan on their feet. And I just don't feel like he's done enough. So now I look at them Jordans as like, cast them off, throw them in the garbage, burn them. If you have them ready, so be it. But I don't think this should be a repetitional thing that we should continue to support someone that doesn't support the culture. And I'm only singing Michael Jordan, but I can go further by saying even Caucasian companies like that don't support our culture by us putting finance in their pocket. I don't want to quote it, but I know at one point Tommy Hilfiger said his brand wasn't for us.
Yeah.
But yet and still, some black people, you will still see the brand on their back, right? The brand on your back only hides the whips that your ancestors endured. And a lot of times you don't see that these people, right, they're hiding with these labels on their back because when you see that name that you're putting on your back is in most cases represented by somebody if you go do your lineage and go see how they established their lives, you'll see they got some dark, deep history.
You know how many businesses got their first funding from slaves? Like, slaves were the first stocks and bonds.
100%.
So there's banks and credit
Traded
unions
contracts
that was started by that. And that's how a lot of these big clothing lines and companies were funded from. And we love wearing it to this day. And it's like, I seen a video the other day with it was a bunch of women twerking in Lululemon. Did you see that? Where the owner said, and he said the same thing. He said, my clothing was never made for black people. And to protest, they decided to twerk inside his store. Like, it's like, this is the deplorable crap that we do that makes us look like buffoons. And there has to be a system in place to handle that sort of thing.
I want to ask the room this question. Give me some very prominent black figures, and I want everybody to answer this, that you believe in your mind, and there's no wrong or right answer. Who do you believe culturally, in the culture right now, who is a great representation of black culture? Whether a woman or a male.
Michelle Obama.
Michelle Obama, amazing.
Q the boss.
Q the boss, I appreciate that.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaquille O'Neal.
LeBron James.
LeBron James.
I don't know, not one.
Who you got, Dre?
Nobody.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
I don't know celebrities.
I think there's a lot of great public figures. One of my great public figures that I love is Dr. Trisha Bailey. I admire her so much, multi-billionaire, and still will answer every text message and call I send her. Every time I hit her, she answers within seconds. This is a billionaire, right? But again, the humility she represents shows me that the money hasn't made her. She made the money. The money hasn't made her. You know, she made the money. A lot of cases, I tell people all the time, when you don't respect money, money don't respect you. And a lot of times black folks don't have money because we don't respect money, right? The other day, I'm gonna give you a quick story. I just have to do this financial tip real fast. The other day, I was telling a guy, I said, watch this, Viv. If you have $10 and you make $3 on your $10, you just made 30% on your money. Would you agree? So watch the narrative. Most black people will say that's nothing, right? But watch this. If I had 10,000 and I made 3,000 on my 10,000, is that a lot?
It's a lot.
It's the same thing at $10.
It's a lot. Mm-hmm.
Look at it. If you go all the way down the chart, at $1, 30 cents is 30%.
Yep.
At $10, $3 is 30%. At $100, $30 is 30%, right? Keep going. At $1,000, right? $300 is 30%. The problem with black folks is we tend to not understand numbers when there's smaller volume. If we level our minds up to understand, you gotta respect the dollar that turns into 30 cents, right? The $1.30, like you respect the 100,000 that gives you the 30,000. Therefore, you'll get to the 100,000 because you respect the $1.30.
Yep. It goes back to just admitting what you don't know. Like, you can have a goal in mind. Like, listen, I want to be rich, and I have no idea how.
Say it again.
No, I'm saying that, like, there could be people who understand I want to be wealthy, but I don't know how. And it's that part that most people don't want to admit.
They don't want to
like,
admit
yo,
it.
I just need to get
scared.
rich now.
I'm scared.
And it's like, there's things that you have to do in order to make money that you might not want to do, or that
100%.
you might not
I
even know
agree.
you have to do.
100%.
I agree. You even see it now. People won't even take certain jobs. Yo, bro, if your only option right now is to work at Wendy's for $20 an hour,
Do it.
Go work at Wendy's for $20 an hour. Stack your little $600 a week. $600 is something.
Live off 30% of
live
your
off of
income,
money, invest some of
save
the
and
money,
invest the
and
rest.
build off of it. But don't turn down a job because of how people are gonna look at you because you're in a uniform or this and that. Listen, I done dishes, I sweep floors, I done everything.
The problem is,
because
bro,
it's not about the title, it's about what you're doing with the money at the end of the day.
100%.
Humans are
100%.
creatures of habit. It's never about how much money you make. It's about how much you keep. So if you've acquired a certain lifestyle and your income changes, most people don't adjust their lifestyle to their income.
They adjust their lifestyle to their income.
Like
They go furthering.
right. They want to still eat out as often as they do.
Yep.
Still do all the extracurricular activity. It's like you don't make as much. You can't afford what you do.
It's like you tell them you just can't do it right now, and it's like they get mad or they wanna. It's like it's certain
'Cause they're creatures of habit.
It's certain universal laws that you have to complete to get to certain levels in life. You can't just do certain things. You're not gonna manifest what's gonna come in for the next chapter. So it's like
Exactly.
certain times you may not have to eat out for 3 to 6 months. It is what it is. Go food shopping, get some tuna, peanut butter jelly, something.
And-
certain things you just can't do.
You know why I think those conversations are hard for a lot of people to have, because your finances are they're so intertwined into who you are. Like if you show me your bill for the past month, your credit card bill for the past month, I can learn a lot about you.
100%.
About where you spend money at. And what a lot of people don't realize is, where do we get the symbol of money from? The dollar sign. Where does that come from? The S with the 2 lines on it? It's a segment of your DNA. The double helix. So your money is literally who you are. They have found a way to transfer your essence, your spiritual energy into dollars. That's why you can truly understand somebody by studying what they spend money on. And they've conditioned you to spend money on meaningless nonsense.
Yes.
And that's where your spiritual energy is going. And
Because-
that's why in return, everything you buy doesn't feed you. It doesn't fill you up with anything. You feel empty.
But you got to realize, because money is, in our culture, is equated to how much I can spend it, not how much I can save it, and how much I can invest it. You know, I tell black culture we tend to find a lot of money to waste, but we don't find a lot of money to invest. And I think the logic in that in itself represent a poor mentality.
Yep.
I think most people's reality is poor because of their mentality. You sit down and have certain conversations, you'll see that we won't change our lives until we change our mentalities. When I talk to people, I tell people all the time, I am very frugal. And they go, why you say that? I said, because I'm trying to follow the successful people that are on earth, who's preserved wealth for generations. Jay-Z said a line, stop living rich and dying broke, right? Another line is, I think the reason why black culture lose is because we tend to believe that we have to be the captain of every boat, but we don't realize that sometimes it's more comfortable just being on the boat. A lot of us always feel like we have to drive the boat. And that's the issue that I'm seeing when I talk to people. I have people that rebel against me, even though I know for a fact I'm speaking 99.9% fact in receipts and proof, but they look at it like, damn, I can't allow him to believe that he's righter than me because now he's my superior.
Yep.
And I think that's an insecurity within itself.
Oh, for sure. And that rings true too with, you can tell a lot of successful people already understand that. Whereas, you ever watch an interview with a successful person who's made a lot of money and the conversation always goes towards, like, what's the secret to success? Or, what's some of the advice you would give to a younger version of yourself? Or what would you tell people who are trying to, get to where you're at? They always say a very similar answer. It's, follow your passion, do what you love, stay true to yourself, work hard. Here's my problem with that.
That's vague.
Not only is it vague,
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg is where he is because he's smarter than most people. Elon Musk is where he is because he's more intelligent than most people. That's just a fact. But if you interview him and ask him that, can he say that? No.
They're gonna get upset.
I have to tell you an answer that I believe you can resonate with.
And everyone feels like,
So if I say, I got where I got because I'm just extremely lucky, which is the case a lot of times. I just so happened to do the right thing at the right time where the market needed it and it took off. You try the exact same thing I did, it won't work. You know what I'm saying? But if I tell you that,
I'm gonna sound arrogant.
you know what I'm saying? So it's like I can't be 100% truthful with those types of things because a person who has reached that level of success or fame or whatever, their biggest fear is being cannibalized by the masses. So I have to answer questions in a way that is relatable to you. Because if I say something that you do not resonate with, not only will it breed resentment, I can lose money, I could lose clients. So it's like they have an incentive to lie, to be dishonest with you.
Yes.
So you gotta read in between the lines when you watch certain people answer certain questions. Like if you got rich off of not so legitimate means, would you tell anybody that? You know what I'm saying? Or if you just so happen to do a deal that worked out better than you could possibly imagine, what's the secret to that? There isn't one. It just worked really well.
It worked out.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to understand reality versus what you're capable of doing. And a lot of times, the more successful a person is, there were factors outside of their hands that got them to where they are.
A lot of them, they're the anomaly, right? Where you can see that
Right.
black, white, they're the gray. And usually, they say the middle tier students tend to do the most well when it comes to money in life. And the reason being is because they're not overly programmed. Like when you look at some people, when they're just, you ever met some people that are just so smart, but their finances don't match their level of intelligence?
Yep.
It's because they can read every book there is, but they can't apply the information.
It's called text. It's the textbook.
Textbook
smart
mentality, yeah.
thing.
But a lot of
Textbook
people like
mentality.
that. A lot of people like that.
Yeah.
I meet people all
That's
the time.
how school trains us to be.
For instance, I started off as a barber. I've met tons of barbers, but a lot of the barbers that I've met haven't masked or gotten closer to the level I've gotten to. It's just the perception and their perception. You look at them, they want to look like wealth and live paycheck to paycheck and live beyond their means. As he said, they're spending money before they get it, right? They admire material things. I don't, because I feel like I can get those things, but it's not my main priority. I remember I told one of my siblings one time, I said, anything you have, I can get it. He took it as if I was dissing him. But he took it as if I was dissing him. But Kenzie, I hope you look at me and say, anything I can get, you can get better. And I would look at it as a great thing, because I only think that it's great that I'm meeting someone that thinks so highly of himself.
Yep.
I think different. I think once your mind has masked any level or met any levels of success, you tend to stop processing. You start processing things different. The way I used to process things with arrogance, understanding now I know it has to have a level of confidence in order for them to achieve it.
Yep.
Because even at first, a crazy person sounds crazy until the idea manifestates into greatness.
Yep.
Okay.
And you know, I think we have to get to a point in black culture. I think all people, but we were talking about this earlier, T. Just the emotion versus feelings kind of
Yeah.
thing. A lot of us are too emotional and too feelings. I go in spaces. We all go in these spaces of finance and high levels. These people, they're not emotional. They talk straight. They tell you what it is, and they're not looking. The color they're looking at is green. I think our culture, we have to get out of our ego so much and stop taking everything somebody says personal. Just how you said, I could get everything you could get it. But an ego, emotional person would take that offensive. Oh, you're arrogant. Maybe how about you ask them, how could you acquire that, Q? How are you acquiring these assets? How are you acquiring these things? So we need to get to a space where we're not so much in our feelings and taking everything as personal.
You know what it is, bro?
What do you think that is?
A lot of people have not studied what an actual boss is. They don't know what it takes to be responsible for people. You know what I'm saying? Like, first time I started managing people and things started going wrong and they looking at you like, yo, what do we do?
You gotta figure it out.
You have to figure it out. Like, most people who claim or brag boss have never been in that position. They've never signed checks. They've never punched hours. They've never submitted payroll. They've never been in an actual boss position. They feel as though because they have made certain decisions and they're in a comfortable position in their life where they get some wiggle room and leeway, that they're a boss. And it's like, if that's what helps you sleep at night, fine. But if you don't have people addressing you as Mr. or Mrs., or if you're not signing people's checks, if nobody's reporting to you directly, you're not a boss. You're an entrepreneur. You might be, a business owner.
Self-employed.
You might be self-employed. But it's like we have this attraction to certain words that trigger these certain dopamine releases that make us feel good when they're benign pursuits. They're not. It's like no one respects. So it's like if you tell somebody, what do you do? And they say, I'm a boss. A real business owner would laugh at you. Like, what does that mean?
You want to hear something? I've been working for myself since I was 21, 22 years old. And I'm going to be honest with you. You know your business has reached a pinnacle when you can go to the bank, take a loan against your business. I'm not talking about no cheating, making up fluff and nothing. I'm talking about I have assets in housing that have their own backing, their own accounts, they're established, they have their own resources. For instance, I can borrow against my company in the sense of not putting my primary, me, attached to it. Most people that you see, they'll say that things are in a business or an LLC. But in reality, their personal guaranteed is backed to that loan.
Yep.
I could take out a loan for hundreds of thousands in my company and I don't have to attach my name to it.
Doesn't affect your personal
No,
credit.
it's literally the company's money because the company is officially established as its own standalone entity.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people look at the term boss. A boss is one who guarantees we're gonna eat. And he takes the responsibility of making sure we're gonna eat. A lot of times, people use this term because social media has made it like the thing to do.
A hashtag.
More people that you see that say they own LLCs are struggling self-employed workers.
They're still W-2 employees.
Yes.
They just don't happen to have an LLC.
It's not real. But before we get out of here today, you want to say anything?
Listen, man, at the end of the day, all we have is each other. You know what I'm saying? So put your ego to the side, open your ears, open your heart, and just listen up to those who are trying to tell you the truth, man. Because there's people that wish they had people to tell them right from wrong. There's people out here with no family, no friends, no nobody. And if you got people in your life trying to help you, trying to tell you, listen to them because they care about you.
Growing up, I was a fan of a rapper called Beanie Siegel. And I think the line that he used resonates with me more as an adult. It says, I'm not the captain of the yacht, but I'm on the boat. And I learned that if we create or we support the person that is meant to be the captain, the team ultimately wins the championship.
Facts.
If the Golden State Warriors rebel against Steph Curry, they're not winning. It's just what it is. If the Bulls would have rebelled against Michael Jordan, they're just not winning. But the Bulls had to be comfortable knowing that Michael Jordan is that guy. I think once people can get out their insecurities, then they can create better security. I look at a lot of our culture is we're fighting for spaces that we're not even mentally capable of doing. I'm giving the cashier's job, that's good at the cashier's job, to stock shelves. Knowing your personnel is how you ultimately create success. I'm not gonna do something that's not for me. I'm gonna delegate someone to do something that's not for me, that is for me, that's for them, ultimately creating success. In order to change the culture, we gotta change the mentality that's in the culture. Because right now, the mentality is the cancer. Don't let that go over your head.